on a project like this table, what we've got here is leg to rail joinery, bringing these parts together on all four sides. So there are actually 8 joints in this thing. And what we want to do is make sure that that joinery is sound. So what I want to do is provide 2 different options for you on a project like this that'll let you do leg to rail joinery in your shop. First, let's talk about dowels. On this leg, I've already located where the dowels are going to go. Easiest way I found to make sure that you accurately get the same dowel locations on both components, meaning the leg and the rail, is to get them marked out on one part, then take the mating part and simply transfer those marks. Now the other thing I want to do is label the pieces so that I know they go together. So this is going to be rail A, upside down to you, but looks good to me from this angle. And this is leg A. And as I work my way around, the next one will be B, C, D, E, all the way up. Just in case these lines are a little bit different from face of the leg to face of the leg. Next thing I'm going to do, I've got little hash marks on there. I'm going to extend those lines a little bit using my square, just so that they're easier for me to see. Now here's the deal with being able to see those lines. I'm going to drill these holes using what's called a self-centering drilling jig or doweling jig. And the deal with this is that across the jig there are a number of different holes in this guide. Each of those holes represents a different size drill bit. I'll be using 3/8 for this because, as a general rule, I want the dowel to be about half as big as the thickness of my rail. So I'm going to use a 3/8 dowel on my 3/4 inch rail stock. When I position this, it's critical, imperative, that I position it correctly. And the way that's done is that on center with the guide hole, there's a hash mark down here. That hash mark has to be perfectly located on the pencil line on the leg. Now you can imagine that on this line, if I miss it just a little bit this way, and this line, I miss it just a little bit this way, then when I put my dowels in and try to get everything to come together, it's not going to come together. So really take your time at this portion of the project and very carefully do that alignment. Now, when I close this up, self-centering means that that drill guide is now perfectly centered on the leg. Next, we can drill one hole. Want to make sure that I don't drill too deep, so this is about as low tech and easy as it gets. I've got a piece of masking tape indicating my depth of hole. When the tape's even with the drill guide, I'm done. Same procedure for each one. That gives me my 3 dowels for the leg. Next thing I have to do is repeat this process on the rail. Once again, I'm centering that hash mark on the 3/8 guide hole right on my layout line. In this case, your best bet is going to be to have your stock in a vise or a clamp so that it's secure. A couple of dowels in there and we're set to go to join those components. Now, of course, there's good news and there's bad news. The nice thing about doweling is that these self-centering jigs are relatively inexpensive. For the price of a jig and a drill bit to go with it, you're set to go on your joinery. The downside is that you have to be really, really meticulous about making sure you get the alignment just right on those parts. So next thing I want to show you is a biscuit joiner, and you'll see that this gives you a lot of latitude on how you bring your parts together. So here's the way I'm going to lay this one out. I'm going to set my rail on top of the leg. That line defines the bottom of the rail. I'm going to be using biscuits to join this together. Now, biscuits come in different sizes. We want to use the largest biscuit that we can for the work. So I'm going to see if I can get 2 number 20 biscuits in there, just like that. That's going to work just fine. And then really I'm just going to eyeball the center of that one. Get my other one on here. Eyeball the center of this one. Now I want to bring those lines to the edge so that I can bring my rail here and transfer those lines onto my rail. So pretty down and dirty layout, but it's going to work out just fine. On the biscuit joiner itself, the way it works is that there's a cutter in here. It looks a lot like a table saw blade, smaller diameter. And that cutter is going to penetrate our stock and leave a slot in there that's just the right size, or just right size to receive the biscuit. So I've got to check a couple things. I want to make sure I'm on the number 20 biscuit setting. I want to make sure that my fence to cutter location is half the size of my material. That's going to get me right in the center of the leg. I'm going to rob this clamp from over here. I think it's important that you have 2 hands on the biscuit joiner. So I want to make sure that my stock is securely clamped. And for this, biscuit joiners are a little louder than cordless drills, so I'm going to put on a set of earplugs for this one. The process gets repeated, except that for the rail, because it's thinner, I need to change my setting so that I'm in the right spot to be in the center of 3/4 inch stock instead of that thicker leg material. Once again, I'm going to clamp my work to the bench. When I bring the biscuit joiner here, what I'm looking at is the line here and the line here, which indicate the center of the cutter. So the layout lines I put on my material are used as an index to control the position of the slots. It's a lot more forgiving than the lines on that biscuit or on the drill guide. So now, if I do a number 20 biscuit and a number 20 biscuit, and I bring the parts together, our leg to rail joinery is complete. Now what's cool is that, look at the lateral adjustment provided by a biscuit joiner. Once those dowels are in the other joint, there is no wiggle room top to bottom like this. And remember I said, if we miss those holes just a little bit, you're going to have a hard time getting things to go together. Here, if I miss my lines by a little bit, I'm still going to be able to get this part together and, real important, get the top of the rail aligned with the top of the leg. So both are great options for leg to rail assembly. Drill index, self-centered drill guide is lower tech, maybe a little bit more accessible to your pocketbook. Biscuit joiner, a little more dough up front, but ease of assembly is significantly greater than it is with dowels. So check them out, find the technique that works best for you in your shop.